Very, very serious matter. The Supreme Court, is it being caught in a political crossfire now? Is it the electoral bond verdict that's behind this letter that has split the legal community? Who is putting pressure on the Supreme Court as the letter alleges? I'll be joined by two former presidents of the Supreme Court Bar Association, but my first guest is Hitesh Jain, advocate, signatory to the letter, also a member of the BJP. Appreciate your joining us, Mr. Jain. Can you tell us what prompted 600 of you to write this letter? Is it the electoral bonds verdict that went against the government in a way that has prompted you all to suddenly believe there's political pressure on the Supreme Court?
Rajdeep, I don't think electoral bond verdict has got anything to do with the letter, because after the electoral bond verdict came, we did not indulge in calling the Supreme Court. Neither the judges were criticized, neither the Supreme Court was criticized. On the contrary, there is a pattern that has emerged in the last 2 months, that whenever a Supreme Court gives a verdict, you start trying to call it an agenda. I will come to the point straight away. You remember just 2-3 days before, when Kavita's matter was being argued in the Supreme Court, and when the Supreme Court was reluctant to grant the relief, and the Supreme Court clearly told Mr. Sibal that you have to go to the lower court, it was Mr. Sibal who reminded the Supreme Court that this period will not be treated as a golden period, and you have to pass the order. And if you don't pass the order, then they try to tell the Supreme Court and remind them about the legacy. Second, if you would have noticed, after Article 370, after Ram Mandir judgment, the kind of attack that was used against the judiciary, and particularly against the Chief Justice. So after the electoral bond verdict, the Supreme Court was not attacked. But conveniently, whenever there are people who are involved in the corruption matters, there are politicians who accuse them for the corruption. They appear for them in the courts, and when they do not get the favorable relief, they start name-calling the judges. I will just finish in 30 seconds more. Recently, there has been a concentrated, and I will use the name very responsibly, there is a section of lawyers who have used the social media to basically criticize the judgments of Justice Bela Trivedi also, by straight away saying, oh, she is going to pass the orders in favor of the government. There is a pattern. We are not going to get the relief and all. See, Rajdeep, this is matter of concern when you start putting an aspersions on the judiciary, you start name-calling the judges, and it is the common man's belief in the judiciary that starts getting shaken up. That is the matter of concern.
Okay, but the fact is your letter has come within a week of the electoral bond verdict, which many believe has embarrassed the Modi government. So therefore, people are perhaps assuming that that this letter has been written because the electoral bond verdict has embarrassed the government. The point is your letter seems to suggest that Justice Chandrachud is going to be influenced by the surround sound, as will other judges. Is that what you are claiming? That judges of this country are so fallible that they will be influenced by what someone writes on social media about them?
Let me come to this point straight away. The letter expresses the confidence in the judges of the court and the Supreme Court, and it also tells the Supreme Court that we stand with the court. But the problem is the kind of smear and the whisper campaign that has been started to tarnish the reputation of the judicial institution, to tarnish the reputation of the judges, to tarnish the reputation of the courts, to tarnish the reputation of the lower court. That is a matter of concern. That is the most important issue. And why as a lawyers, we win some cases, we lose some cases. But then when we lose the cases, we start blaming the judiciary, we start blaming the institution, we start blaming the judges. That is a matter of concern.
No, but Hitesh, as you well know, that Hitesh Agarwala, the SCI, the Supreme Court Bar Association president, after the electoral bonds verdict said, I want a presidential reference. Questioning. You see, both sides question the judiciary when things don't go their way.
Rajdeep,
you see, the point is you are dragging the judges into your political battle. Why drag the judges into your political battle?
But Mr. Hitesh Agarwal also never casted any aspersion of Supreme Court judges. There are some lawyers, they have gone to the extent of comparing that the Indian Supreme Court is akin to the judiciary in Pakistan and China because it just gives the judgment in favor of the government. What sort of criticism is this? I mean, I'm sure even you will agree. Can you compare our judiciary with what is happening in China and Pakistan? That is the interview that have been given. That is what is being fed to the young law students. That is what is being fed to the lawyers. That is what is being fed to the public at large. Is Supreme Court required to be subjected to such kind of comparison? Do we compare our Supreme Court to Supreme Courts of Pakistan and China?
Okay.
I mean, we can have the criticism of the judgment, but certainly you never compare the institution to the Supreme Courts of China and Pakistan, which happened 5 days before. This is all a matter of concern.
Okay. Hitesh Jain, for giving us the reasons why you've signed on to that letter. I appreciate you joining me. Let me widen this debate, because this debate requires now some senior lawyers also to join us. Vikas Singh is former Additional Solicitor General and a former President of the Supreme Court Bar Association, as is Dushyant Dave, Senior Advocate, Supreme Court. Great to have two fine legal minds joining us on the show today. First to you, Mr. Dave, your first reactions to this letter. As you heard Hitesh Jain, the lawyers who've signed on are upset with the scurrilous remarks that are being made against judges. You, among others, have been at times accused of taking on some of the judgments of the higher judiciary. Okay, we'll try and get Mr. Dave in a moment. Vikas Singh, you want to respond to this letter which has been put out? What does it indicate? Is it that all is not well within the bar and the bar is being split politically now?
Well, Rajdeep, to start the answer, I would like to first of all comment that I am very happy to see Mr. Salve in some very good company of Mr. Adish Agarwal in the same letter. Now, as far as this judiciary attack on judiciary is concerned, there is a concern of the people of this country. And the concern is that if there is a special bench to be constituted every time when some politically sensitive case comes, and that special bench comprises of 3 presiding judges, so they leave their 3 different benches and come and sit together, then that's something which is, it raises an alarm. Why can't it go to a normal bench? Why can't a matter of this kind go to a regular bench?
No, are you suggesting you're making a serious charge. You're hinting somewhere there at bench fixing, which is one of the points which is made in this letter, that who are these lawyers when they don't get a verdict in their favor, say the bench is fixed?
So, Rajdeep, I'm not saying that. I'm saying it is a question of bench fixing, but it is definitely a matter of concern when a regular bench doesn't hear a matter and a special bench is constituted. That is number one. Number two, when you say that a person of, a political person like this, like Mr. Kejriwal or somebody has to be arrested, I am not getting into the merits of it. I'm sure there must be something very seriously wrong with what Mr. Kejriwal has done. I'm sure that he will have to face the trial and he will have to bear the brunt of it. But there is no necessity to arrest somebody, because if you read Article 20 of the Constitution, you can't be compelled to, implicate yourself in a crime. Now, when you say that he's evading answers, I mean, I have a right to keep silent. So when you say he's evading answers, if he feels that a particular answer is going to implicate him in a crime, he has a right to keep silent. So where is the question of keeping him in custody just because he is using his fundamental right of not responding at a time when he feels that there is an...
I'll come back to the Kejriwal case also, but I just want to widen this debate. And Dushyant Dave, since you have been among the lawyers who've spoken out vociferously at times against what you believe is a problematic higher judiciary, do you want to respond to this letter which says who are the lawyers who are speaking out in this manner? They are putting undue pressure on the judiciary by making these statements.
Well, I must say one thing, that the letter is an insult to the judges first and foremost. And because if the signatories of the letter suggest that, yes, the judges are going to be pressurized or are going to count down because of some, submissions made at the bar, which lawyers are entitled to make, then I think the signatories have done a great disservice to the institution by writing that letter. They are completely ignorant of law. Let me tell you one thing. I just heard Mr. Jain. Article 32 is a fundamental right, and a fundamental right to enforce fundamental rights. And right from 1950s, particularly in 1962, a judgment of the Constitution Bench in Daryao versus Bihar, the Supreme Court said that it is our privilege and duty to entertain every petition when fundamental rights are complained of being violated. And we cannot relegate parties to High Court or other lower courts. Now, that's the law declared by the Supreme Court. That law has stood for a long, long time. I have not seen a single judgment which has really upset that law on principle. And yet again and again, these judges, without understanding that these are serious cases of violations of fundamental right, not only of the individuals involved, but institution, of democracy is under challenge. I am not here to support corruption. If somebody is guilty of corruption, he must face the trial. No difficulty about it. We are talking about right to bail. Supreme Court has said consistently, jail is a rule, bail is an exception.
Sir.
Now, what is happening today, that, these matters are being dealt with, unfortunately, by only select few judges. And these judges are constantly sending these people to trial courts.
No, but by saying that, Mr. Dave, aren't you casting aspersion on the judges by saying
Not
that the
at all.
matters are being sent to a particular judge and the judge is not granting bail? Aren't you casting aspersions?
Rajdeep, I am not casting aspersion. I am stating a fact. If you see the record of the Supreme Court, it will tell you where these matters are being assigned and what is the outcome of these matters. And as against that, I can tell you one thing, that large number of other people are getting away with getting all kinds of reliefs.
Sir,
so,
the letter...
for example,
Sir, just a minute. Mr. Dave, the letter...
No, just a second. This Mamata Banerjee's nephew, Abhishek Banerjee, the ED called him. And he ultimately came to Supreme Court. ED came, I think, or he came. Right. And before Supreme Court, ED makes a statement saying that, the elections are coming, therefore we will not call him now. We will call him after election. And Supreme Court bench presided by Justice Bela Trivedi herself says, yes, elections are taking place. Therefore, we adjourn the matter until such time he will not be called by the ED. Now, what do you make out of it? It's really, you have to...
Sir, as I said, sir, can I just, as we get your video back, can I just turn back to the letter? Sir, the letter, Vikas Singh, and I want both of you to answer this, says, tactics employed by the interest group involve selective criticism or praise of court decisions based on their political agenda, described as a my way or highway approach. Vikas Singh, you first, and then Dushyant Dave.
So, Rajdeep, when you say that lawyers or a particular client is asking for bench fixing, it's actually very unfair to say that, or very, very, uncharitable to the lawyers. What lawyers have always been demanding, and I support that demand, that this roster system came in 2018 when I was president for the first time. And that you remember that interview that happened by 4 judges, and they said that matters are being selectively marked to a particular judge. So as president of the bar, I made a demand that there should be a roster system where matters should go by randomly in that roster of, so whoever are handling a particular matter, it should go and there should be distributed in that order. But unfortunately, that has been completely done away with now. And now suddenly a particular matter goes to a particular specially constituted bench. I don't understand, if there is a roster system where there are judges to deal with a particular roster, why a special bench is constituted, disturbing 3 different
benches on Justice Chandrachud, and are you saying that because ultimately he's the master of the roster?
So it's for you to deduce what I'm saying, but as far as I'm concerned, I feel that a roster system, the integrity of the roster system is that any matter should go as per the roster, and that is what the lawyers have been demanding. Okay. So to say otherwise, that the lawyers are asking for bench fixing, is absolutely just the opposite of what they are demanding. They are saying that if there is a roster, let it go as per roster, rather than fixing a particular bench to hear a particular matter.
Okay.
Now, that is something which is completely against the very principle of roster system. That is what the bar has been saying. And to cast aspersions on the bar, I think, is completely uncharitable.
Can I therefore get you, Dushyant Dave, to respond to that critical point in the letter? Tactics employed by the interest group involve selective criticism or praise of court decisions based on their political agenda, described as a my way or highway approach. They seem to suggest that that there are elements within the bar who are trying to put political pressure, as I said, on judges when judgments don't go their way.
Well, first and foremost, let me tell the country that when I think Mr. Manmohan Singh, then Prime Minister, and Mr. Ghulam Wanwati, then Attorney General, were accused of having done something wrong in Colgate files, I was the one who went on television to say that both must be investigated and prosecuted. So I have nothing to do with Congress or BJP. I am here to stand for the Constitution and for my democracy, first and foremost. Secondly, I think this is an orchestrated letter. The way this letter is written, the way it is, publicized by media across the country, and then the Prime Minister himself tweets about the letter, shows that this letter is clearly orchestrated at the instance of the ruling BJP. And I'll tell you why. The BJP is having a free run since 2014 in the Supreme Court with successive Chief Justices like Mishra, Kher, Gogoi, Bobde and Ramana really doing almost everything that the government wanted, be it in terms of judgments, be it in terms of appointments to Supreme Courts and High Courts. Now, for the first time, Chief Justice Chandrachud and his court is making a pushback against the executive. Chandigarh Mayor's appointment, for example. Now, this fact-check notification, then this, electoral bond judgment. These are the things which suddenly the government is finding very uncomfortable with. And that's the reason why the government is, through this letter, trying not to give message to the judges who did not give relief to Arvind Kejriwal or Kavita, but to the Chief Justice. So I think that this letter, unfortunately, is a very sad commentary on the part of these so-called prominent lawyers who have written this. Frankly, Mr. Jain should know what the law is about. I must say, one more thing. Under Bar Council's rules, the advocates under Rule 5 have to defend their clients fearlessly before the judges. And that part of fearlessness entitles to tell the judge that you are making a mistake and that therefore history will tell you that you made a mistake. There's nothing wrong about what Sibal said that day. One more thing. There is a judgment by Justice Arun Mishra himself in 2019 where Justice Mishra discusses the role of the bar and says bar must be independent not only to protect the honest judges, but also to call upon erring judges and call them names. He said that bar must expose them, bar must talk about them. So I don't think Mr. Jain and all these prominent signatories really are aware of what the law is. We are doing our duty. Under Article 51A, the duties that citizens must perform, one of them is that he must uphold the constitutional values. I am upholding my constitutional values as I look at it. I am not trying to demean any judge. I am not trying to disrespect any judge. But I am certainly entitled to show a mirror to the judges of the Supreme Court that you are not following your own law. And you are selectively following that law in respect of some while denying others relief. So that's something which I feel is not at all wrong. This letter, to my mind, is really to bring pressure on the Chief Justice and those good judges who are doing some extraordinary work in recent times.
Listening to both of you, it's been a pleasure, but you've again made an imputation somewhere that this letter has been written on the behest of the BJP, which
Absolutely.
Again, Mr. Dave, you're making that charge. Okay. As I said, therefore, the judiciary will find it, the bar is finding itself tangled in political battles. Quick 30 seconds, I must give Vikas Singh, who listened patiently. Is that a fear as a former president?
Before Vikas Singh comes in, I must say, and Vikas will agree with me, that the bar knows who these prominent lawyers are and what they stand for.
Okay.
So the whole legal world knows about it. Okay. We don't have to debate it on television.
Okay. It's a bit like people will say tomorrow, everyone in a newsroom knows who stands for what. That debate on another day. But 30 seconds, Vikas Singh, is this going to really split the bar wide open if it wasn't already?
So, as far as I'm concerned, Rajdeep, there is a bar which is an independent bar which has no concern with any political party. And I also am one of those who have actually no concern. I criticize the Congress also whenever I feel that they've done something wrong. So I feel that it is my duty as an advocate to be clear of what the Constitution stands for.
Right.
So the bar as a whole will always remain united. But yes, there are some sections of the bar who want to align with a particular political party. That by itself will not make, the bar in any manner divided.
Okay. And
the bar, according to me, the unified bar will always remain as a strong pillar of this institute.
Gentlemen, both of you have taken time off from your holiday break. I know lawyers are on holiday in this Easter week, so I appreciate Vikas Singh and Dushyant Dave. Pleasure listening to two fine legal minds on the show tonight. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you very much. Good night.
Okay.